everyone. Today we are going to create an Aurora landscape, and hopefully you've had a chance to learn a little bit more about what the phenomenon of an aurora is. It's pretty cool, but you can only see it from certain places on the planet. You have to get pretty close to either the North Pole or the South Pole, and then at night, if the city lights aren't in the way, a lot of times you can see these really cool sort of ribbons of color in the night sky. And there's a whole science behind how it happens, and it's caused by our sun. And you can definitely look at more videos to learn more about it. But we're gonna be creating a landscape inspired by that, and we're gonna be using chalk for that today. Now, I'm using chalk pastels, but if you have sidewalk chalk, that's fine too. There's also recipes, I think, to make your own chalks at home. But any kind of chalk, sidewalk or art chalk, those are all fine. Now, the other two things you'll need, you're gonna need black and white crayon and a piece of black paper. I'm using a half sheet of black paper, so it's not too big, but you can definitely use a full sheet and go bigger with it as well. So when we get started, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna use our white crayon, and we're gonna create the horizon line, and then we're gonna create a couple of hills behind it. So right across the bottom of your paper here, not too far up, you want to draw a line mostly straight, hopefully, across the paper. And then you can decide how many hills you want to add in. I did 2 in this one. Maybe I'll do 3 in this one. So I'll do maybe 2 here and then put kind of 1 in the middle. Okay, so that's the first thing you want to do. Then after that, we're going to kind of make the sky a little less black. So you want to find a blue, preferably a darker blue. And we're gonna actually use the side of it. And you're just gonna kind of add a little bit. You don't wanna add too much. You don't wanna press real hard. We're just getting a little dusting of chalk in the sky to kind of give it a bluish tint, so it's not so black. And then you're gonna be using your finger. Obviously, I've been doing some art today. My hands are a little messy, but you're gonna use your finger, just your pointer finger, and you're gonna gently smear and blend that chalk to soften it up so you don't see so much of the chalk texture. That's our first part towards the sky before we start to add the aurora effect. So once you've finished with that, you might want to have like a tissue so that you can wipe the extra off your finger. Once that's done, then you're going to go and add some of the ribbons of color in the sky. Now, mostly the aurora effect you see in green, but it does also show up in blue, violet, pink, and red. So you can use any of those colors. I would try to steer away from using every single color, because then if they all mix up, it's probably gonna look brown. So, you know, maybe choose 3. So I'm gonna do, I'll do the violet, and I'm gonna do kind of this pinkish color, and I'll try the green in this. It's kind of like a lime green. All right, so I'm gonna use these 3 colors, and you wanna create ribbon, kind of a ribbon effect. So you wanna use mostly a wavy line, and you wanna make it pretty thick. Okay, and if you wanna do it kind of curly like that, almost like there's a letter S in the middle, that is how it appears sometimes. I'm gonna try and do maybe mostly green up towards the top here. I don't want my green and my pink to mix too much because they are gonna make a not so bright color. So I'm gonna kind of keep them away from each other. All right, so I'm gonna do the green up there, and then a little bit of violet kind of coming out over here. I'm not making it too wavy. I'm gonna do a little bit of the pink below it. I'll give that one a little bit more of a curl, and then maybe a little bit more over here. All right, so once you've got that ribbon effect, you're going to be using your pointer finger again, but you're gonna actually kind of push the chalk up to kind of give it that 3-dimensional look where you can see it from space, and you just wanna go up from the line. So you don't wanna go back and forth across the line. You actually wanna just kind of push it up, and that's gonna give it that effect. So the more chalk you have on the line, the more it's gonna kind of drag itself up. It also helps to then kind of go and sort of soften the edges of the line too a little bit so that they don't look so chalky when you're done. But yeah, make sure you're pushing from the line and just going up. Don't go back and forth across the line. And then I just kind of follow along the line there to sort of finish it up. All right, so before I switch to purple, I'm gonna kind of get some of that chalk off my finger so I don't have green in the purple. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with the purple. And it's okay if it overlaps the green a little bit. That's probably pretty realistic. And then kind of soften up the edges of that line. I'm gonna do the same. Oh, I'm gonna wipe my finger off a little bit before I do the pink, and then I'll do the same thing with the pink. And if a little bit gets on the hills, that's okay, because we haven't done those yet. And soften those edges. All right, so there is my aurora effect in my sky. Now, if you don't feel like you did enough the first time, you want to go back, add a little bit more, you can do that. That's fine, no big deal. Now, moving on towards the hills. I'm going to switch it up to my white chalk, and I'm going to actually add just a little bit of white chalk kind of across the top of the hills like that. So a little bit along the edge, and then I just kind of add a couple more lines going down. And then you're going to use your finger, and you're going to soften the edges of that, kind of bring it down a little. So it kind of looks like the light is shining on the tops of the hills there. And I've got some dust. I'm going to just kind of shake that off so that it doesn't interfere with anything else. All right. Now, for the ground, if it was like the water, it would actually reflect a little bit of the coloring that you see in the sky. So I like to use the white first and add some streaks of white chalk, and then go back with the colors that I used for my aurora effect. You know, honestly, I probably should have done more purple and pink on this side, and then more green on this side, because that's how it is in the sky. So you kind of add those in, and then you're going to be real gentle when you blend these, because you don't want to over mix them. Just going to kind of sort of right across there without too much smearing. All right, so there's kind of the effect then on the ground or the water. It might be the ice or the snow that's reflecting the sky. Now, this last part here is we're going to add some silhouettes of some pine trees in using our black crayon. And to do that, I want to draw a line somewhere maybe just above the hills, because these trees are really close up, so they're really big. So I make those lines down first. I like to always put a couple together. You can add one on the other side too if you want, or you know, just do a couple. Don't put them too close together though. Make sure there's at least a couple fingers of space between them. And then to make the sides of the pine tree, you're just gonna kind of zigzag down each side. I like to make my zigzags really close together, and then also kind of get them bigger as I get closer to the bottom. So you're just kind of zigzagging, and then obviously a little bigger towards the bottom. Most trees grow a little bit more narrow as they go up. Then I'll do the same thing on this one. And if you don't feel like you did enough zigzagging the first time, there's too much space, you can go back and just do it like a second time on the tree to kind of fill it in a little better. And if you feel like it didn't get pointy enough, you can always make it a little bit taller and kind of fix it up at the top, like that. All right, so once you've gotten your trees, I'm gonna add just kind of a couple of little streaks coming out to give it more of a pointed effect in a few spots. All right, once you've got your trees in there, the last step is to go back to your white crayon and add some stars. And the crayon will show up pretty well on top of the chalk. Oil pastel also shows up really well. You're just gonna kind of add some stars up into your night sky. Try not to move your hand around on the paper because it'll mess up the chalk. If you wanna hold your chalk down in place, then if you have like an aerosol hairspray, you could spray this when you're done so that the chalk isn't gonna come off so easy. You can see it's like coming off of my hand a little bit there. So aerosol hairspray works really well. There's also things called fixatives that you can buy, but if you have just that aerosol hairspray, Aquanet's the best. If you have that at home and you give it kind of a light dusting, that helps the chalk to really stick to your picture. All right, so there is my Aurora landscape. I hope you guys have fun. I'll see you later.